My name is AJ Kittle, and today we're going to be discussing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Many people have been diagnosed with ALS, including Stephen Hawking, the famous physicist and author, Lou Gehrig, the baseball player, and Eric Dane, the actor. Overall, 1 in 400 people will develop ALS over the course of their lifetime. There are 30,000 Americans right now that have ALS. Only 15% of cases are inherited, which means that 85% do not come from inheritance. This makes it harder to pin down the origins of ALS. And veterans are twice as likely to develop ALS. At this point, you might not know what ALS is. Amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. This is also known as motor neuron disease, or MND, or Lou Gehrig's disease, named after that baseball player. ALS causes the motor neurons to degenerate, and when muscles deteriorate, movement is lost over time, leading to paralysis. Eventually, the patient passes from complications of ALS. The issue with ALS is that there's currently no cure and no treatments to reverse the effects of it. Therefore, you can imagine how devastating it might be to be diagnosed with ALS, given the dire circumstances. ALS also has several causes, which makes it hard to prevent. There appears to be only one solution in sight: further research and further testing. ALS is a complex disease, and it requires significant research and clinical testing in order to treat. In the past 10 years, about $155 million went towards research grants to cure ALS. To put this into perspective, the US government spent $2.2 billion for clinical trials for the COVID vaccine, and that was just in about 1 year. This brings us to the Ice Bucket Challenge phenomenon. Starting around 2014, this movement started between friends, took off, and spread to millions of other people. Overall, the process is very simple. Participants go on film and explain that they're doing the Ice Bucket Challenge in order to raise awareness of ALS disease. They then film themselves dumping cold water over their heads, whether just cold or with ice, and then they challenge 3 friends to participate as well. Participants may also choose to donate money to ALS research. This is where the principles of power, influence, and persuasion kick in. These principles essentially drove the engagement of the Ice Bucket Challenge. In this video, we'll jump into Cialdini's principles of persuasion, French and Raven's power bases, and captology. These are Cialdini's principles of persuasion: reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, liking, social proof, and the 7th, which was added later, unity. For the Ice Bucket Challenge specifically, we'll cover reciprocity, authority, social proof, and unity. The first that we're covering, reciprocity. When someone challenges you after engaging in the Ice Bucket Challenge, you feel a certain obligation to contribute as well. Not only do you feel like you owe that person your contribution, you also want to avoid the negative social pressure of not joining in the cause. For example, if I was challenged and failed to rise to the occasion, people might think I don't care about ALS. One example I saw while doing research for this was that Obama was a notable absence from a list of participants. This call-out could be seen as persuasion or manipulation in order to get Obama to join. Moving on to authority. The mere appearance of authority is effective at influencing others. So someone who dresses professionally, such as myself, is more likely to persuade you to listen to me. Another person with authority might be Janet Cernacchia. Her husband was diagnosed with ALS 11 years before the Ice Bucket Challenge started. When someone has that much experience dealing with a condition, they're seen as experts or the authority on a matter. Another principle is social proof. I would argue that this is the most effective element of the Ice Bucket Challenge. More than 17 million people have completed the Ice Bucket Challenge, and over $115 million has been raised. Essentially, social proof boils down to seeing someone else enjoy or do something, and recognizing that you want to be a part of that too. The fear of missing out also drives the social proof. On a personal note, I remember wanting to be challenged so badly to do the Ice Bucket Challenge, because if I was challenged, then I would have the authority to participate. The Ice Bucket Challenge is also extremely easy to do. You only need ice, water, a bucket, and a camera. All those items are household items, or if not, you could neighbor a bucket from your neighbor. The principle of unity, in-group versus out-group. The Ice Bucket Challenge actually created an in-group versus an out-group because the in-group is anyone who participated, while the L group is everyone who had not participated in some way. Essentially, you're either part of the cure or you're not. Even if you weren't challenged to do the Ice Bucket Challenge, you could still donate and be part of that in-group. This also created a shared identity. People wanted to be an ally to those who were dealing with ALS. Now let's talk French and Raven's power bases. The 6 types are reward, coercive, legitimate, referent, expert, and information. Reward is I can give you something. Coercive is I can take something away. Legitimate is when authority is placed upon you. Referent is when others respect you enough to want to please you. Expert is when you have more knowledge and information than others. Information is more about when you can ascertain information about others or things. In the Ice Bucket Challenge, expert power was important. Doctors and scientists were more likely to be listened to because they had that education and experience that others did not regarding ALS. As mentioned earlier, those with ALS or someone close to a person who had ALS might be considered experts by the public. And then there's also the appearance of being an expert. Whether you are or are not a true expert, that person will receive a greater influence than someone who just looks like Joe Schmo. Legitimate power. This can come from your title, rank, or social status. You can also have legitimate power placed upon you. So, for example, if you're challenged by another, you receive the authority and obligation to participate, giving you legitimate power to take part in the Ice Bucket Challenge. When you're challenging others, you're bestowing that duty on them. I went ahead and threw Smokey the Bear up here because I think it's a great example of bestowing power onto others. Only you can prevent wildfires, authorizes you to take care of your own fires, but also to step in if others are not. And then there's referent power. This is when someone respects or appreciates someone else. So it could be a peer, politician, or celebrity. Many people believe referent power is the most effective because you have the desire to emulate and gain that approval from the leader. When it comes to challenging others, it's best to choose someone who respects you and you respect them, because that's your best chance of attaining this reverent power. And here is Superman doing the Ice Bucket Challenge because everyone loves Superman, so he has that referent power. Now let's talk about captology. Captology stands for computers as persuasive technology. The medium could be achieved through phone or PC, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. The experiences are tailored to you because it's your friends or the people you're following. In 2014, Facebook was by far the most popular social media. Captology also requires a tool to be used. Right now, it's easier than ever to film oneself and quickly post the video. You have the ability to tag your friends and family on the post, driving up that engagement. And there's also reduction of effort. You can scroll on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram and find these videos of water buckets being poured on people's heads. And then lastly, it's a social actor. This challenge strengthened relationships, whether it be friendships or acquaintances. It introduced people to other new people. Within the first week of the challenge, 2 people that had ALS found each other through a single mutual friend. When I went back to my own social media, I could not find whether I had done the Ice Bucket Challenge or not. I had believed I did do the Ice Bucket Challenge, but since there's no evidence, the burden of proof is on me. Therefore, it's only right if I go ahead and do the Ice Bucket Challenge myself to prove that I do care about ALS. I'm also donating $20 today towards ALS in order to find a cure. And to anyone who's made it this far in the video, I challenge you to donate $20 as well, or whatever you can today to help those affected by ALS. Welcome outside. It is a balmy 23 degrees in Boston tonight. Feels like 17 degrees. So we're gonna have to do this quick because it will immediately send my body into shock once the water hits me. I might be there already. Luckily, Gabriella has been nice enough to volunteer to dump the water onto me. I nominate 3 people from 3 different states: Zach Wildman, Jordan Stambaugh, and Chris Spangler. Please do the challenge and donate if you can. Thanks. Don't miss. All right, time to go warm up. Well, I can honestly say I'm feeling much better now. There are, of course, ethical considerations when talking about power, influence, and persuasion. These methods can be used for unethical and or illegal actions. We have seen examples throughout history such as chattel slavery in the US. All of those actions that were taken were technically legal, but of course highly unethical and immoral. These are Aristotle's three methods of persuasion. There is ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos is appealing to one's trust. So if you feel that someone is an expert on something, they're an authority figure on it, or if they just have a good reputation, you trust the person, they're your friend, they've never lied to you, that's ethos. Pathos is appealing to your emotion. So if you are able to tell a good story or use language that invokes strong emotions, or it appeals to your sense of values or beliefs, and you align in that way, that's pathos. Logos is appealing to logic, so using data, stats, and evidence to back up one's claims. For the Ice Bucket Challenge, this is definitely a pathos appeal. It makes you feel motivated to act in a way that will help people because you feel empathy towards those people. Of course, in this case, it's ethical to use pathos in a way that progresses helping these people. Now, of course, with all things on the internet, there is skepticism and cynicism surrounding this phenomenon. Social media clout, for example, people believe that you participating in the Ice Bucket Challenge is simply to garner positive attention from your friends, families, or the internet at large. That could be true for some. I would argue that in most cases it's driven by the other factors that we've talked about, either wanting to truly help the people that are suffering, as well as wanting to fit in within society. And of course, there are always going to be bad actors during any type of movement. People will always use movements to advance their own wealth and status, but believing that everyone is a bad actor and is only self-interested is falling into cynicism. Falling into cynicism really reduces your ability to see good in the world, and I would argue that it's not productive. The specific example here is Kendall Jenner in her Pepsi ad from several years ago. Kendall Jenner and Pepsi try to use several social justice issues in order to promote their own brands. This, of course, received huge backlash on both sides of the issues, and it was quickly taken off of the air. Let's also address the importance of the results. Regardless of whether it is promoting one's own brand, it is still increasing the engagement and the awareness of the actual item at hand. So when it comes to ALS, if someone does use the Ice Bucket Challenge in a way to platform themselves and promote themselves, at the end of the day, it is still helping the people victimized by ALS. For example, if a cynic believes that every single person acted in self-interest, there was still $77 million that went towards the research of ALS and towards producing a better end result. In total, it was $115 million over the last decade. For this reason, it's important to leverage psychology and sociology to create these positive results. And even if you have some bad actors on the bandwagon along the way, they are still adding to your movement. Now, as leaders, if people are exploiting others in order for their own personal gain, that does not advance the end cause for the public good. At that point, it needs to be addressed. I would like to say thank you all so much for watching this video. It was proudly made without AI. We don't have time to get into it today, but I think the use of AI for tasks that humans can do on their own has serious ethical implications, and we should maybe as a society steer away from that. So thank you for watching a video without AI being deployed, as well as not using it yourself when you can avoid it. These are the references for this video. I will go ahead and post those in the description as well so that you can easily click those links. I would also like to recommend watching the Vice video for higher detail on many of the items that we touched on in this video about ALS. One last thing, a good leader must always reflect on the ways in which they lead, but the best leaders know when it's right to follow another. And as leaders, we must discern between what is real and fake and what is right and wrong. For example, you probably thought that I've been warming up from getting an ice bucket poured on top of my head. But the truth is, I've just finished eating lunch, and this was the first segment that I filmed. Now, was I dishonest in any way when showing you this footage? No, I said I was feeling better, I just finished my lunch. But the reality is, we only see what people want us to see on the internet. So it can be somewhat easy to be duped by people in the current age. And it's also important as leaders that we're careful not to trick others into doing unethical things with deception or misrepresentations of appearance or reality. Now, my appearance did not deceive you in a way that was harmful to you, to myself, or anyone else. But that's why it's important to recognize that you can't trust people just because they look a certain way, or say specific things, or appear to know what they're talking about. And this is why, as leaders, we should have high priority in learning discernment. And if you don't believe what I've just told you, what if I said, my name is AJ Kittle, and today we're going to be discussing the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.